just call the name of each university, and then we're gonna have the rep from each open their mic and turn on their camera and just introduce themselves. So from the University of Technology.
Okay, so good afternoon again, everyone. I'm Avian Shaw, and I'm the representative for the University of Technology. Um, I'm, I'm a member of the College of Health Science faculty and a student nurse. And for my leadership position, I am the initiative coordinator on the President's Task Force.
All right.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Avian. From the Northern Caribbean University, NCU.
Hi everyone, my name is Rosa Mackenzie. I represent the Northern Caribbean University. I am the Executive Vice President for the Kingston campus. My major is social work.
All right. Welcome, Ralston. From Case College of Agriculture, Science and Education. All right, from Case. All right, let's jump over to the Micro University.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kelsey Ann Porter, the second year lead representative of the Micro University College School of Guild. My major is guidance and counseling. My minor is English language.
All right, perfect. And then from way far on a totally different time zone from the Brunel University in London.
All right, hello everybody. Chad Morgan here. I am, as Jerome said, I'm a student at Brunel University London doing an MSc in Public Health and Health Promotion. I'm also a student representative. I represent my program. I'm the class rep for my program, which is Public Health and Health Promotion.
All right, great. So let's get right into the conversation. I'm gonna start with Avian and Ralston. When you think about safer sex, what does that mean to you? Let's go with Ralston first.
Safer sex. Well, it speaks for itself, actually, where it allows someone to protect themselves and also be vulnerable to the one that they're participating with. Because when you say safer sex, we are not just talking about just having sex with any and anyone. It means that you are giving yourself to somebody that you are looking to have a long-term commitment with. And I think that is not really generated to the youth these days, but it is just sex for just sexing purpose, if you get what I'm saying. But we must not be naive, but at the same time practice healthy sex.
All right, Shaw, the same question for you.
All right, so I agree with what he said. Well, it speaks for itself. However, I'm not going to say safe sex usually applies to those persons who are in a long-term relationship, but we also have to take into consideration those who are just having sex for sex. And some persons, that pregnancy is scary. So when they hear safe sex, they think about safe from STIs or STDs, but also take pregnancy into consideration. So we also have to, bear that in mind. And some persons are just having sex without thinking long term or saying this person is going to be my wife or husband.
So over to Kelsey and Chad. I'm gonna start with Kelsey first. Do you think that as it is now, young people, persons in college and university, do they even care about safe sex?
Repeat that question. Give me a minute.
Young people.
Go ahead.
I
I
guess.
have someone in my background from second year who is listening.
Okay, no problem. So I was asking if based on what you're seeing on campus, do you think that young people care about safer sex? Is this something that comes top of mind for them?
How would I answer your question? Does young people care? All right, so with my observation, being on hostel at that, to me, I think that they don't care. And the reason being for that, as you mentioned, counselors, I don't think that adequate information is set. The information is out there, don't get me wrong. It's all over the internet. It's out there. But when it comes on to safe sex and educating persons, especially on hostel, I don't think it is pushed that much. I think it's a case where you just leave them and let them do what they want to do. For instance, I'm on hostel and persons would look up to me as mentor or whatever, and they would say to me that, Kelsey, what would I do if my boyfriend so and so? And I said to them, first thing, get a condom. And they said, but him not like use condoms. I said, do you want to protect yourself? You're young. And you have to remember that it's a purpose why you're here. You're here for a degree. I'm not going to tell anybody not to have sex because I cannot tell them what to do. But I don't think that it is pushed that much, especially on campus, for young people to really see that it is best if you have safe sex. Protect yourself, because HIV is very prominent. It goes around, and there are many young people today who are out there who don't even know that they have HIV or any sexual transmitted diseases. So I think that in the university sector, I think that it should be pushed more, especially for persons on hostel. If you understand what I mean, because you have majority of the girls on hostel, the female, they just do what they want to do and they don't think of anything. They're not that aware. The information is there, but guess what? The information is there, but how well do they understand the information? It can be there all over the world, yes, but it has to be a point where we as educators, and I put myself in the place as a guidance counselor, myself as a counselor, to make sure that the information is there, yes, but each and every person understands what it is about. So use your condom. When I was growing up, I used to hear put pinch, leave an inch and roll. Many persons take it as a joke, but it is serious. So I think it needs to be pushed more, especially when it comes on to campus life, because I think young people are just going out there, doing what they want to do, and they're not really educated to say, yeah, man, so we need to practice safe sex. Means I have to stop, but I need to practice it because it's beneficial to my health. So that is what I think. But my observation, being on hostel and being around young people.
Thank you for that, Kelsey. I wanted to have a follow-up question to that. I want to know what do you think the institutions can do to empower students to practice safe sex? And also, being a student leader yourself, how can you help to ensure students have that information about practicing safe sex?
All right, thank you for that question, Mr. Brown. What I would do, or what the institution, let me start with the institution first. The two ideas popping up in my mind, just like we are having this seminar, as I would call it, the school could do that on a monthly basis, where you have all the young ladies, the young men on a meeting like this, and you update them and you inform them a bit more as to what to do and what not to do. As myself as an educator and a leader, which many young people today at Michael look up to, I could use my medium as second year lady to keep my ladies updated. And let me not just say keep my ladies, keep my men updated also, because that is where the combination comes in, a man and a woman. So I would try my best to make sure that seminars are kept. For example, it's not really an example. I went down to my tuck shop last night and I saw a box of condoms. And I was laughing at the point and I said, but this is a good measure because I see persons coming for condoms. And I said, yeah, man, I like this move. So you can make things like that and not to buy pills now and put it down to give to students, but make some of the necessary things available to their handage. Because students can be ashamed to go on the road to go buy a condom, especially women. It's most of the men who would do that. So I, as a leader, living on hostel, I would make that more prominent. I would instill it more, keep more seminars and those stuff to inform my ladies. Because as I stated earlier, the information is there. but do they understand that information? Do they just sweep over it? Do they understand it? So as an educator, as a counselor in training, I would make sure that my ladies, including myself, because don't forget it, I'm a young woman also too. So I would make sure that everybody is educated in a way in which, yeah man, safe sex, but I have to practice that. You know, so Kelsey said this, I'm going to follow this or whatever. And the institution can make a major role because, come on, the institution is big. They have the facilities. They have the resources to make this more prominent so persons can understand the importance of practicing safe sex.
All right, I want to join Chad to the conversation. I don't want to necessarily have it coming off as a first world versus third world issue, but in terms of what you're seeing, as Kelsey mentioned, the possible solution in terms of access to information, access to resources, just the availability. Is that something that you're seeing on your campus in terms of making sure students don't face an issue around accessing condoms or safer sex commodities?
So generally there is a gap. I think there's a global gap in knowledge around sex and STIs generally. But what the difference is there, the level of stigma and discrimination that exists around sex isn't here, or especially on campus. So you are not frowned upon for having sex. People expect you to have sex here. So you have access to condoms, you have access to services. One thing that surprised me, so there's a group called Spectrum. They're a sex health organization that actually come to campus. You can get commodities from them, you can get testing from them. I didn't know they do these things here. I thought it was just, like you say, in the developing countries. So the access to these things are very, very easy. People expect you to do these things. So one of the things I think we should look at is how we change the conversation from not having sex to sex is going to happen. So these are the resources you need to ensure that you're safe, that you're practicing safer sex. Because we all know, and especially when you finish school, the conversations that come up is that when we did at school, I'm stressed out, I have one bunch of sex. So why do we expect it to be different from the persons or the generation now that are in school? They might have sex. It just like happen. It's a natural part of existence, unless persons are asexual, which are not a lot of people. So yeah, it happen. So give them the resources.
I see where Alia came on, our rep from, I think it was Case. Alia, can you confirm if you're now hearing us and able to join in on the conversation?
I am now here, and I would like to apologize for what has happened before. I just had a small hiccup with my microphone. So
okay.
I would not necessarily do an introduction because you basically said it all. I'm the faculty representative at CASE, and based on the discussion and what the students have said before, it is true, the information needs to go out there, but most importantly, it is the relationship. I believe that if the healthcare facility personnel have the relationship with the students, they can go to them and get advice on what to do, because sometimes when you're indulging in these activities, you might need somebody to talk to, but you won't necessarily talk to your friend, because you're the level of trust that you have with your friend or what they're doing is not necessarily right, and you know it, but you want to go to somebody else who is more responsible. And if the nurses and the healthcare personnel can actually show you that level of love that you would get from your parents and so on, then more than likely safer sex will be practiced because they know that they can trust you to that level.
All right. I want this question, interesting. I'm going to ask this question to the three males who are a part of the panel. And also persons who are joining, you can always just raise your hand if you want to join in on the conversation. I will definitely come over to you. If you have any comment, you can definitely drop it in our chat box and we'll definitely get to it. All right, so let's start with Avian. As it relates to condom, right? Is it still a case where you based on your interactions and your conversations, is it still a case where it's still the man's responsibility to have condom? Is it, when you're on campus, is it still the guys who are turning up for their sexual encounters with condom, or a woman now so empowered that they have their own and showing up with it?
Absolutely. You tend to find that the males rather, are you expect to see a quicker response from the males. However, you still have a few females who would come for their condoms, yeah. But mostly males. Though you have some females who will come and get their condoms and their lubes and so forth. The men are quicker to come and get their condoms.
Right.
So I guess that would answer the question as.
So it's still mostly lie with the men. Mackenzie, Ralston, is this just unique to UTech? Is it that the guys from NCU are they the one getting the condoms?
Well, it is a fact, and I'm not going to say that because we are a Christian institution. We do not have stuff like this that happen on our campuses. It may not be evident to leadership acknowledgement, but it's something that is actually practiced and something that is actually real. And what he said by my colleague Shaw is that we do find mostly males who are equipping themselves with this with the term of boots, walking with the boots and stuff like that. And then the
ladies are walking barefoot.
I wouldn't say that per se, but you'll find now and then one or two or a few of them would have a female condom, but it is mostly males.
All right. Cool. You said, before I come over to Chad, I wanted to follow up on something you said, Ralston. I think it's no secret that NCU, by and large, is a Christian and conservative university. So is there a place or space for these conversations? Do you have these sexual conversations around sex and sexuality? Is it a course? Is it something that happens monthly? Tell us about that. Give us an inside scoop.
I am so glad that you brought that up. We do, well, as I said, I am a social work major, and for majority of our behavioral students, we have a class called Human Sexuality. And it is a class that we all look forward to. And we learn about what to do when having sexual intercourse and stuff like that. But it is not a topic that the university shy from. We do have the facilities. We do have the space in which student leadership and the university actually come forward and say, let us talk about sex. Because the thing that must be appreciated is that the university does not view it as a taboo subject, but view it in the context of an holistic development for students. And with that said, you cannot be ignorant to one area of life and then be scholastic in another. So we have to have some sense of balance, and it talks about the holistic development of man.
Okay, Chad. First world empowerment. What is happening on campus? Is it a case where is it again in London? Is it that we're seeing where females are going out and showing up with their condoms, or is it still the man responsibility?
Hey, first of all, so while condoms are accessible and easy and yeah, everywhere, they're cheap and you can get them for free. Men here aren't big on using condoms. So I would say it would be the females who carry the condoms or who are going to buy the condoms. Men in general don't believe in safer sex here because, again, they don't have the same level, they don't have to deal with the levels of stigma and discrimination that we will be dealing with like back in Jamaica. So if they do contract and they stay, they just go to the clinic, get their treatment, and they're good. If they have HIV, which is also very low in terms of people not knowing their status here, they're just going to go to the clinic, get their treatment, get to undetectable, so they are untransmittable, and them good. So they don't have the same worries that people in other countries would have. So condom is not so big for the men here based on the conversations that I've heard, that I've had with people.
All right, Kelsey, what I want to know, and then I will come to Alia. I think from my experience, a lot of time I will see ads promoting men. You will see an ad with a man buying the condom. Even when I was on campus, for the few times that different organization came and they distributed condom, it was always the male condoms that were distributed, right? I don't ever remember seeing a female condom. From your experience, is it are female condoms accessible when it is that they are being distributed at school freely? Are female condom being given freely as well?
Thank you for that question. The honest answer is I've never seen female condom being distributed. I've always seen the men. You know, the common one, the men. I've never seen a female one. I know that it is accessible, but you would have to go in like the pharmacy or those places to get it. But it's more of the sort where you find a female, like downstairs in the tuck shop now, it's a box of male condoms. There's no female condoms. I've never seen it distributed like that.
And I dare say, I think there are persons who are on the chat now or even listening in that have never ever seen a female condom.
I have
Like,
never seen one. Never.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
I
Shaw,
beg
go
to
ahead.
interject here because yes, here at the University of Technology, they do offer the female condoms, so they are freely accessible by the students at the Med Center. For those who do not know, right there where the male condoms are, sometimes you'll find female condoms. However, occasionally the female condoms will run out quicker. I don't know. I don't understand why, because females, they don't or should I say the males, they don't really prefer the female condoms because it requires more. It is more technical. You
It's too
understand?
hard.
It
It's too
takes
hard to
more
put on.
time.
It's too hard to go
It's,
in. What's the issue?
yeah, you know, right. So they're quicker to grab the male condoms, you know. But yeah, nonetheless, they're being offered.
So you're saying that maybe the fault lie with the developers. They need to make it more user friendly. I hear you. I hear you. I hear
Perhaps.
you, Shaw. Alia, what's happening in terms of case? Is it like can the females get their condom there, or is it again just the male that find it easily accessible?
At this institution, the female condoms is something that you never see. And I think this is because the mode of contraceptions for females aren't necessarily condoms. Like the most used ones would be pills. Like females would buy pills and stuff, but they'll never necessarily said that they've used a female condom. I've
It's
never heard it.
after the fact.
Yeah.
All right. Try to see where your hand is up. You can jump in.
Yeah, so two things. What's his name? Avian was saying that the female condom tend to run out before the male condom, but several things with the female condom, they're much more expensive than the male condom, so they're usually less quantity. They're hard to use, as he said as well. But the next thing, so while the male condom or the regular condom is made for the penis, it doesn't mean it's for the male. So I think it's also around how we position the conversation to say the male condom versus the female condom, because females also don't want to use the female condoms. So while it is for the penis, it's perfectly fine for the females to get it, and we don't need to say male or female condoms because them not have sex with themselves unless them masturbate. So
all right, but for any other guys who are on the chat, and I would dare say if somebody want to just jump in and maybe introduce themselves and answer. One of the males, are you comfortable? You're going to have a sexual experience. Are you comfortable with the girl turning up with a condom? I don't know. If any of the panelists want to jump in on that one, are any of the females are you comfortable turning up to have sex and popping out and showing, say, hey, you're not about to go in your wallet for the long time one you have from 5 years ago? I have one. Female, are you comfortable turning up for your sexual encounters with a condom? Kelsey, I will love to hear your view your view on that one.
My views on this now. I turn up to have sex with my partner, and I pop out a cut. I bring the condom to protect myself, But I'm going to step away from a female perspective for a little bit. And I think
Sure.
the males now would agree with me. Popping out a condom as a woman, popping out a female condom, it can be a turn off to men. I'm saying, we are doing that. But at some point, you just have to say, I'm trying to protect myself. So whether you like it or not, I'm protecting myself. I don't see a problem with that. I think the males would more likely to have a problem because it might give them a turn off to say, but a girl at the point, man, you understand? Giving you from a male perspective. From a female perspective, I wouldn't have a problem because I'm protecting myself.
All right. I see where Tyrese raises and Tyrese jumped in. I'm seeing Tyrese. All right, I'm not sure what's happening with it.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, man, we are. Go ahead.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm a first-year student at the Michael University. Shout out to all of the Michael students, everyone.
Indeed.
So, based on the question, would it be a problem for a female to show up with a condom? I don't see it as a problem because at the same time, as the discussion is being said that majority of the times the males show up with the condom. So it's, it's an equal role, the females should, want to protect themselves just as though the males would want to protect themselves. So I wouldn't see it necessarily as a problem for her to show up. I wouldn't see it as a turn off because at the end of the day, copulation has to deal with two persons, so you have to be able to be at some agreement with your partner. So I don't see it as a problem for her to show up with a condom, honestly.
All right, cool. Thanks for jumping in, Tyrese. I'll see where Alia and is up, and then we'll take from Chad. So go ahead, Alia.
As stated before by Kelsey and by Tyrese, it would not necessarily be a turn off because it just shows the level of maturity that you have as an individual and how much you respect yourself and what you want from the copulation that you're about to encounter. So if a male turns up with a condom, it shows that, he's thinking about the future. He's thinking about your future as well. And it is something that is very nice. Like, somebody to actually be looking out for you and their self also, knowing the current situation where persons are dropping out of school because of pregnancy, the hardship of COVID-19 and everything. It is good for somebody to actually go and ensure that they're going in safely and looking out for the future of themselves and others.
Chad?
Yeah, so Kelsey brought up an important point. So she's saying that she believes from the male's perspective, they will feel some type of way and not want to use a condom and think some sort of way about it. But that is also a dangerous perspective because we're assuming that the person is going to feel this way. And because we made the assumption, we're acting on somebody else's assumption, which might not be true, and then would feel to protect ourselves. So make him feel away that I feel problem. That's simple.
I want to challenge
Ralston.
something. All right, let's go with Ralston first.
Ralston and then Calvin, sure.
I'm going to disagree with Kelsey that it will be a turn off because we must accept the fact that safe sex is everyone's responsibility, right? And we have to play it safe. We have to play it safe. Is either we play it safe or go home. So we have to play it safe. So I personally would not see it as a turn off if a female came with a female condom, right? I personally would not see it that way. And it is from a male's point of view. I don't think any conscious men would find it as a turnoff, but find it as a responsibility and find her very responsible.
Thank you for that,
Bin Calvin.
Chiming in on something Alia had said earlier, she mentioned the fact that she don't really see the females getting condoms. She knows of them, getting the pills. So that would mean that they're focusing mostly on the pregnancy aspect. Do you think these tertiary students are educated sufficiently about STIs and the risks they are exposing themselves to? Question for Alia, and then anyone else can chime in.
Okay, so thank you for that question. So necessarily, I don't think that the whole concept of STIs has been something that is really popping in the faces of most of these students here. It's just mostly just pregnancy. So I don't think that they have enough information or they're aware enough of all the possibilities that could happen. So the one main focus that we normally have is just pregnancy. From you just stepping into high school, you hear about teenage pregnancy. That has been something that everybody speaks about, everybody within your community, they talk about. So when somebody gets pregnant at a certain age, the discrimination is there and everything. So that is normally the one factor that everybody looks at. But for somebody to have AIDS or HIV, they don't really speak about it. So it is not something that, is necessarily has a stigma around it until you know that that person has it. So in my point of view, I don't think they know much about it.
All right. Chad, you see where you raise your hand?
Yeah, so I'm I'm happy that Kelvin asked that question because again, it's something I see. Fortunate enough to have experience in a Jamaican university system and then now abroad. So I don't think people are sufficiently educated around STIs and safer sex generally. So unless in countries where you have comprehensive sexuality education, and that now I'm in Jamaica for now. So I think we're at a disadvantage. Also, people just generally, they might know the basics, but they don't know the application. Again, people will think that safer sex means just using a condom. They don't know anything about STI testing. They don't know about general screening. They don't know about things like PrEP. And then again, even looking back at Jamaica, for a particular group of people, for heterosexual people, them generally don't believe in STIs. So they think that raw sex is fine. Once they protect themselves from pregnancy, they are fine. It was further proven recently with that article when they're talking about the UK, saying that more heterosexual people are being found to be positive for HIV and at a late stage. And Jamaicans were having an uproar saying that HIV, again, only affects one particular class of people, one particular set of people. So them generally don't believe that heterosexual people contract STIs. So the education, I think, is very much lacking. And even those who are educated, they're not acting on the information. So there's a gap there that we need to figure out.
Okay. Kelsey, jump in.
Yeah, just to add to that, the information is there, but I don't think they understand the information quite fully. And I go back to, I think it was Mr. Brown who said it about the pills and stuff that young people, I'm not sure if it was him, if I remember and serve me correct. Somebody spoke about pills that the young girls would be, they use the pills more often. But listen now, using the pills, but they're not educated of the disadvantage of the pills. So they have the better and the safer way to go, but they're saying, all right, we can't bother with that. Somebody just have to take the pill them if anything happened. But on the other hand, you have disadvantages of those pills. For example, there's a pill called Postanoid that every young woman is supposed to know, even the men. If you take too much of that pill, you know it can cause damage to your womb. Because you keep on doing what you're not, let me not say doing what you're not supposed to do. It's natural. but you keep on doing something that you know that the consequences are something that you would not want to face, then you keep on taking those pills and it can damage you in the long run. Many young people, there's a girl who her testimony was she keep on taking those pills and until today she cannot get pregnant because of those pills. So the thing is that every information is there. But how well do young people understand that it is better to walk with a condom? It is better to make sure that your partner, or if they don't, let me detract from this. If they don't want to walk with a condom, before you have sex with your partner, it is your health. Find out the status of your partner before you go ahead to have sex. There are many young people who come from me. I'm from Westmoreland, and I come all the way to Kingston. I say, for example, I meet Mr. Brown. Me and Mr. Brown get a connection. I will just magically go in a bed, so. So that is the thing with young people today. You need to get to know your partner to make sure that, all right, honey, you want to do this today? Let us go and get tested. Let me know if you have any STD. Let me know if you have HIV. And I think that's one of the things that young people fail to do, because I don't know why, but me personally, I would do that. I want to know my partner's sex. What is happening? Does he have HIV? I just come from Westmoreland, he lives in Kingston. I don't know what he's doing. So I think young people, the information is there, but they are not acting on the information. They're just playing around and have it on their finger, swirling around instead of acting. And that's the big problem today in Jamaica. Information is there, but nobody is acting. They expect that everything should be spoon-fed to you, and that's not going to happen in life. We all have to act on our information and make sure that we are protecting ourselves. At the end of the day, I can get pregnant, but my partner is still in school. At the end of the day, I can have STD, my partner have STD, one of us survive when it could have been avoided.
Thank you for that, Kelsey. I
Kelsey
just
raised a
wanted to
point.
insert it. I just want to insert, this is Sex on Campus brought to you by Jamaica AIDS Support for Life. And of course, we offer free HIV and syphilis testing at our 3 chapters in Montego Bay, St. Anne, and Kingston. You can always, please make sure you follow us on our social media pages, and you can contact us, get your free tests done, and get your free condoms also. Go ahead, Jerome.
We have, yes, and the condoms they also come in flavors and different sizes. So we can talk about that some more. I wanted to piggyback off something that Kelsey said around the fact that the information is there, right? So, Shaw, to you, I'm gonna throw this out to you first. Is there an issue with messaging? Is it that the message should the message be more scary? Should we be frightening people? Is it that the message is good as it is? What is happening with the messaging as it relates to just practicing safe sex? What's the disconnection? If you think there's any, what more can be done to get people to create behavior change?
All right. So firstly, I think they need to select a proper medium or the most appropriate to suit the audience, and then they need to sort of manipulate the whether, as you said, scary. So you don't want to make it too. I'm sure you'd like to. You want it to be a little bit scary to get their attention, but you don't want but you also want to engage them, right? You want to attract them, but you don't want to frighten them. You understand what I'm saying?
There's a balance.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, I sort of balance in there.
Chad, as a public health student, I think when we have conversation about messages that may come off as scaring, I think there's a huge conversation about what is the appropriate message to create behavior change, especially around COVID. What's the way forward? Kelsey lamented that there are several. I think the Ministry of Health and Wellness would have spent, if not close to billions of dollars at this point, on campaigns around safer sex. So what next? Is it that we continue down the same road? What next?
So I'm smiling because this is actually like a current module I'm working on. So what I've come to understand, like I've understood behavior change generally, but like in behavior change, there's a process. It has 6 steps. The messaging or identifying the knowledge gaps is just the first step in any behavior change intervention. It's the same thing when you're using like a health model to change behavior. So it's literally the first step. What I think Jamaica's, not even just Jamaica, what I think one of the larger problem is we don't act based on information, and we just think that it's always the knowledge that we need to fix. So even though we develop these amazing campaigns, the messages are perfect, but if nothing else is there to support it, it won't go anywhere, because messaging alone won't change behavior. If you're going to just focus on messaging, generally behavior change is estimated to take like 8 years. Who have 8 years to wait for people to go start get tested? They would already have an STI, they would already have several children. So we need to move on to the next steps in the behavior change process. We do a lot of work in the country around messaging on campaigns, but what next? What next? Everything has to be cohesive, and I think that's where we fall short on. Even we see now, even with COVID, we're spending a lot of money on messaging, but what next? What are the actual other steps of intervention to actually get people to move and to make the change?
Okay, Tyrese, jump in.
All right, so my question is it even necessary to be spending all of those money for interventions, making commerce and all of that? Because we as Jamaicans, not just Jamaicans, but as humans and all, we have this tendency, or we have this mindset to not care, even though the message is being forced at you that, hey, if you go ahead and do this, this is what can happen. And even though we know the ramifications of our actions, we still go ahead and do it. Because I know you can't just go to a young man in Jamaica and say, yo, say, what you do with your female partner and the right of you stand up. But I gotta go against him belief, that I sound like you violate him belief and him moral values, because I say, yo, people don't like the correction, and that's just the fact. So why continue to just spend all of these money, and at the end of the day it not go work out? It have to start when themselves actually, so them put themselves in that and try to make a change. Because you as a person, say for instance, Chad doesn't have AIDS. Chad can't go to a person and say, yo, because if you have here this I got and in the position, we have to take one of them have it now for come out and say, yo, this I got happen, and if you never do this, then this could happen. So you don't really make the sense if them have spend the money, somebody been through it. I really like try to counsel them in that way. But the money and the commercial thing, that not gonna work out.
All right. Terry, I think I will eventually come back to your point at a rate, but I want to hear from Ralston and Chad, since they would have raised their hand. So go ahead, Ralston, and then we can hear from Chad.
You know what is something that we must acknowledge, that we as a society, we are not quick to listen to what the professionals gives us as information. We are not quick to receive that information, but we are quick to receive the information from a friend that don't have any sense of insight into what he or she is speaking about. And I think it was Kelsey said that we have the information, and that is true. We do have the information. But the thing is, we spend more time mingling with people, which is our social environment. We spend so much time within our social environment talking about how much girls we have sleep with, and talking about things that are not really significant, and not really accepting that each person has a task to play and each person has a responsibility. This is why Jamaica has one of the lowest COVID vaccination rate. We spend so much time finding flaws into what is presented in the media and not accepting that each person has a role to play. And Kelsey has said it over and over again. And we need to accept that each person must take their sexual active, their safe sex or sex in general in their own hands. And we need to accept that. Listen to me. Is either you are going to get tested and know the facts, because Kelsey said that we don't spend time to know our partners, and that is true. We meet somebody and we just jump into bed and that's it. And anything happen, we just accept it. And we cannot live like this. We cannot live down the road of destruction and feel comfortable in the state that we are in. We are going to head into a detriment that is going to cause our people to be dying off because of negligence and because of ignorance.
All right, Chad, you want to chime in?
Yeah, well, I raised my hand because I wanted to address what Tyrese was saying about the messaging.
Sure.
So while I do understand saying it sometimes don't make sense, it's very necessary. So there's a saying, you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know that you're at risk, you can't address the risk, so you can't solve the problem. But what I was saying before, once you've identified, say, hey, if you don't use a condom when you're having sex, you're at risk. If you don't get tested, or your partner don't get tested, you're at risk. If you don't know, you can't fix those problems. So what I was trying to say, once you've identified the problem, you've told them the problem, what are the next steps that you need to take? So now that you know that you're at risk, now that you know that you can get tested, which is to solve the problem or to use a condom, you know where to access those things. And then you know how to maintain those things, know that you've accessed them. So you know that you need to get tested every 3 to 6 months if you're having multiple sexual partners or unprotected sex. So these are the steps that needs to be taken. But generally the messaging, it's very important because again, you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know, you can't fix what you don't.
All right. So Chad would have cleared up maybe the first part of Tyrese's concern. I just want to also add, Tyrese, that for a fact, the Ministry of Health and Wellness would have used persons in the campaign who are living with HIV, and because of the stigma and discrimination in Jamaica. I know the last time the young lady that did the ad, she was not HIV positive, right? She did a series of ad for the ministry talking about the struggles that people with HIV has. She lost her boyfriend. Members of her family started neglecting her. So there was a lot of social issues that spill over just by somebody doing commercials. So a lot of times, like even here working at Jamaica AIDS Support for Life, a lot of time we want persons who are living with HIV to be a part of the conversation and show their face, and they themselves would want to do so, but they are very much scared about the implications that it has on themselves, losing their job, the issues of teachers don't want to mark their kids' book. That's a real thing. That's things that have happened. Persons who are dressmakers in their community, all of a sudden nobody want to support them anymore. So there's just a lot of issues around the stigma and discrimination where we want persons to be a part of the campaign. We want them to share their stories and tell you about how to be safe. But until we are able to create a space that persons can exist and share and really thrive, it's gonna continue to be an issue. All right, so at this point, I know we have 8 minutes left. I'm gonna dare people to say that we're gonna have a part 2 of this discussion. It's very lively, it's very informative. I don't want, because I think a lot of us committed to an hour. I know that I can only give an hour today, so I definitely want a part 2. But before I go, I want to ask about hookup culture on campus. That's something I definitely want to discuss. And again, if there's anybody who have any comments or similar to what Tyrese has been doing, just raise your hand and jump in on the conversation. I would definitely want to do that. Let's start with hookup culture on campus. So let's start with our friend from Case. Is it regular and common practice for persons to just be on campus, see someone that they like, and just go and have sex? Is that a regular and common thing?
All right, so to be quite honest, what I've seen and what I've heard is that most times the first year students, when they come in, seeing that they just come in from high school, you're leaving home, you're being on campus now, you don't really have that much restrictions. They're the ones that are mostly prone to indulging in sexual activities, as well as some of the seniors, because, when they reach a set age, you're like, oh, yeah, my own adult. So why not? I have a little girlfriend, she's soon my wife, and we soon start a family. So, the indulgence of sexual activities here is very high, and it is something that is quite normal and just prominent.
Okay. Let's jump over to NCU, the Christian conservative hookup culture. What's happening?
I could tell that you were going to pick on me.
Most definitely.
It is something that is practiced, and it is something that is mostly seen within our first year and second year students. By the time you reach sophomore, you become more seasoned, and by the time you reach your junior age, which is your third and your senior age year, is when you are more focused on leaving and not just penetrating and getting all of those stuff in, if you get what I'm saying. So hookup culture is actually real and active. I cannot tell at what level it is, but it is something that I see both here on Kingston. I cannot say what is in Maine, which is in Mandeville, but I can speak from what is in Kingston that I'm located on.
All right. I guess the guys over at UTech are more focused on their work, and that's not the case, right, Shaw? That's definitely not the case at UTech.
Shaw cannot let me look that bad. Shaw cannot let me look that bad.
I would love to say that is not the case, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to share the unfortunate truth. But it is being practiced from what I've heard, and I'm certain that it is not only the UTech campus or the one in Kingston, but also our second campus in Montego Bay. Yes, and as well as other tertiary institutions.
Okay. I mean, this is not the case for Michael. I don't know if Kelsey wants to come in. Our future teachers and leaders who have those young mind to mold. I'm sure that they're focusing on their lesson plan, absolutely not hooking up. Kelsey.
Repeat what you said, sir.
No, I'm saying about hookup culture at Michael. Is it common?
Sir, don't trouble we know. But it is prominent here. I can tell you that. It is. You just meet somebody today over Michael. It is very prominent, but it's a case where when I see it happening, I just shake my head and say, okay, that is that. So you have as person, and I heard, I think it was earlier, it's not only a fact that they're coming from high school. You see, when a young girl, I use young girls, you see, when they're not grown in a home, you have young girls who are grown in the home where they are taught certain things, but they come out and do what they want, as they would say they want freedom. That me, I'm going in a pastor's house. So
God's trouble.
I don't really have, but I tell young people I took my freedom from 16. So I know what road look like, and I know what not to do from what to do. But you have some young people today, Mr. Jerome, where they don't have that type of home training. They don't have that mother or father to say, don't do this. Or even if you plan to do it, use a protection. Many persons or many young girls today, they don't have it. And that is what that's where majority of the problems stem from. Can you see if you don't have a proper home training? Best believe it's gonna be hard when you come out there. And young people have an excuse to say that, oh, when my mother clothed me, when I come road, I just take my freedom. You have to take your freedom and take it wisely. So you just come to school, you meet Mr. Morgan. Mr. Morgan whisper 2 sweet words in your ears and start gigi like say, me no know what happened. You have to know what you're doing, and I see it happening every day, and not only in universities, it's happening in high schools. Where you just meet the little boy they play football TV. Yeah, man, we're a footballer. As your quint, that's happening. The whole world knows things happen. So it's very prominent, but it's prominent. Yes, we identify the problem, Mr. Jerome. But what is our solution? It's good to identify the problem, as you call it, hookup culture, or whatever you called it a while ago. But we identify the problem. It's now our duty as educators to sit and evaluate the problem and find the possible solution. And let me go back to when I think Mr. Chad said it. Yes, the information are there. I don't think it was Mr. Chad. I think it was Ralston. Something after I can't pronounce them. I'm not good with names. But he said it that the information is there. But instead of sitting down on social media, the word goes out, big up to you, Mr. Brown. The word goes out, it goes out very wide. But we have to find something in which that instills the information. It is embedded in the mind. Because even with this culture, whatever you call it, sir, it can be stopped, Best believe it can. But it will not fully stop until we step in as young persons, because you will find young people looking at us now. I say, yeah, man, them are young people like you, but what they must say are real men. And at some point, we have to step down. You have some people who are very cockatoo, and who she thought have sex from early. There are sometimes we have to step down from our pride and our dignity and our possession, or what would you call it? The word is on my tongue, but it's not coming out. Step down from our office position. For example, second year leader, there's sometimes we have to step down and say, well, go on, man, listen to this and just hold them mid there. Understand me? You see me, you deal with them on a level where they understand. Because if you step up to them in jacket and tie and say, you know that you must stop having sex or you must use it, they're not going mid there because they must say, I foolish to say that. When you come to them and you say, listen, what you do now tell you to stop in man, but easy back, dilly back and just easy. Use of protection, man. Not tell us you know have sex in a row, but use, and the same thing goes for female. So we can stop this, we can, but we have to find the necessary measures. These are youths of the 21st century. You cannot just come and throw theories at them. The practicality works with them. And as an educator, I have seen that. Practicality works best with young people instead of using theory. Theory is something that goes through your ears and comes through the necks. Not everybody learns the same. And we can stop this. We just have to find the necessary measures in order to stop this. Because best believe, and this is why we have a lot of teenage pregnancy. Because they're not educated in the way in which the theories are there. They say, yeah, man, we know that, but they don't understand. So it's our duty, as young people, young men, young women of today and tomorrow, to make sure that Jamaica is the place where certain things are cut down. HIV is not on the rise. The government can now say it's on the decrease, it's going down. So it's our duty.
All right, thanks, Kelsey. All right, so I'm going to take the closing point from Tyrese and then Chad. I want to broaden and continue this conversation, so we're definitely going to look into having a part 2 of this discussion. All right, let's hear from Tyrese.
All right, vital points of my Korean colleague. I totally agree with most of your points. Where I disagree was the first section of your points, where you say it stems from the home and not being educated as to what to be done. So a lot of the times it's not really the home, because most of the time they have been taught about what not to do and what not to do. They might not have a follow-up thought, with it. They might hear it one time and that's it. They're supposed to adhere to the rules. But I don't think it necessarily stems from the home, because a lot of persons what you will call the upper class are raised and they are told that they should not do certain stuff, and as them step out through the gate, it's a total different setting. So I believe that yes, it can stem from the home, because a lot of times if you don't know what to do, or if you don't know what to abstain from, then how can you abstain from it? You have to just do it and you have to say, yo, I do something, because you're not going to see it as a wrong, so you have to do it. So it can stem from not having the knowledge, but another time it does not stem from the home, because they are taught that they shouldn't do it, but at the end of the day, they don't care. So I don't disagree with what you're saying, but just to make a clarification that a lot of the times it doesn't necessarily stem from the home. It just stem from them not connecting to what was said or having a different mindset as to what was said.
All right, thanks, Darius. Chad?
Yes, so I have 2 points. Firstly, um, there's nothing wrong with hookup culture. There's nothing wrong with hooking up. What is the challenge is people not protecting themselves. Because if you have sex with 10 people and you protect yourself with the 10 people, your risk is the same as if you have sex with one person and you not use protection. Risk is risk once you're not using protection. So once you protect yourself, you are fine. So we need to move away from that idea that the more people you have sex with, the more you are risk. Once you're protecting yourself, the risk is the same thing. The next thing in here in the in the UK, it is very, very, very prevalent. The hookup culture is not a thing in university, clearly. Say you meet somebody in class, people have sex before the class done. It does happen. Yeah, it's swift. It's swift bad. So again, the conversation has to be around protecting yourself, because once you're protecting yourself, then it shouldn't matter how many or who you have sex with, once the protection is there.
All right. Ladies, gents, really, really appreciate everyone coming out and sharing in this vital conversation. I definitely want to have a part 2 of this discussion. Just reminding persons that at Jamaica AIDS Support for Life, we provide free HIV and syphilis tests. So if it's the case, if you have an issue coming to us, we can definitely come to you. So especially to the student leaders that are on, if you want to arrange for us to come, stop by, drop off some condoms, we're definitely open and ready to do that. If you want us to come by one day with our tents and do a setup that we can provide free testing, we can definitely do that. Also, be sure to follow us on our social media platforms. On Twitter, it's Jassel Tweets. On Instagram, it's Jassel Info. And on Facebook, it's Jamaica AIDS Support for Life. Again, I just want to say to everyone, thank you so much. And we do hope that we'll have this conversation again sometime next week. So again, to the panelists, definitely each university and college that was represented, I definitely feel like we are in good hands if at least half the person at the universities are knowledgeable and able to express themselves as you did today. Excellent. All right. Well, good, Calvin.
Yes, Jerome, definitely an interesting and good conversation today with the youth, where, this is one of those safe zones. More conversation like these empowers the youth, that they can be able to empower themselves with the correct information regarding practicing safe sex and protecting themselves going forward. Thank
All
you
right.
everyone for joining us. The viewers, thank you also.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, good.